Fine, good afternoon to you all students. Hi students, how are you? I hope you all are fine. Welcome to our today's online class students. Warm greetings to you all. So now we are studying about chapter 11, database concepts. So students, have you all studied till last week portions? Studied or not? So last week I have taught many important questions in this chapter. So I gave homework for you to study. What are the questions I gave? What are the questions I gave? Last class we have studied about what do you mean by database? What do you mean by database management system? What are the characteristics of database? Then types of model, object model. Isn't it? So types of object model I asked you to study. Then characteristics of database. Then 2 more question. What do you mean by database, database management system, everything. So have you all completed that portions? So please study daily portions again and again. I am telling very important chapter this one. So you can expect 5 more questions from this chapter. Okay, very important questions are there inside this chapter. Okay. So before I am going to start about today's portion, so just recall what are the things I have taught at the last class. Okay. So in last class we have studied about object model. Isn't it? And also types of object model. So what are the types of object models you have studied? Hierarchical model, network model, then ER model. Isn't it? So lot of the models you have studied. What do you mean by hierarchical model? Hierarchical model means it is a tree-like structure just like a parent-child relationship. That means one parent have many children. Then what's the next thing? Network model. Okay, so network model is just relational model. What do you mean by relational model? So relational model, so all the entities are represented in tables. Tables have each rows and columns. So all the data are stored in tables with rows and columns, and also an important key feature, key is assigned for the table. That is relational model. Then which model? Network model. The network model is a combination of hierarchical as well as network. So hierarchical is a parent child, that is 1 to many. Here just opposite, many to 1. Understand? Yes. Next we have studied ER model, that is entity relationship. So each object is represented as entity and attributes, and also relationship we have studied. So these are the things we have studied at the last class. So in that model, one more model is left. Okay, one more model is left. I have left at the last class. So today we are going to study that model. Okay, so this is a data model. Okay, so data model means here it is mainly used to, where you are using me, mainly used to represent how the software will be there after the complete implementation. That means, so before you are going to implement some new products, or before you are going to implement new things, so you will check, isn't it? Before, for example, a company is launching a new product to the customers. So before they are launching a new product, they will check inside their factory or company, isn't it? So that kinds of things they are checking, no? That kind of things are represented in a model called data model. Understand? For example, they are going to develop a new software. So before they are introducing a new software, they will check what's the use of this software. So what are the functions this software will do. So that all the things are represented by a model called data model. Understand? So we can say, so real time implementations we can use this model. Understand? So complex things, that means for complex things we are going to implement, we can able to represent that thing using this model. Okay, so main aim of this data model is, so it is, main idea is after the implementation, so this software looks like this. For example, in a physics practical, you are going to do one practical. So before you are going to do the practical, what are the things you will write? Practical exam, what are things you will write? First you will write aim, then procedure, then block diagram, then calculation. Then only you will do the practicals and you will fill the tabular column using the calculations, isn't it? So likewise, so by seeing the block diagram itself, you know, so this is the process of this device. So this is the working of this device. So this principle we need to work, isn't it? So like that, in the data model, you can represent all the things by seeing this data model itself. You know, you can identify. So after the implementation, this software will looks like this. Understand? For that purpose, mainly they are using which model? Data model. Understand? So this is the data model. Next one, object model. Okay. So what do you mean by object model? So this is the one kind of model. So in object model, so it will store the data in form of objects, attributes, methods and classes and inheritance. This all the things you have studied in the 11th standard as well as in the last chapter you have studied. So last chapter we have studied detailed about classes, objects, attributes, methods. Isn't it? So same thing. So this object model is mainly used to represent so this object model used to represent, so it will represent the data in the form of objects, attributes, methods, classes and inheritance. Understand? So where we are using this object model. Okay, so where we are using this object model mean more complex things or more complex applications. Okay, so more complex things if we need to represent in the complex applications need to represent in a model means we will choose this object model. Okay, for example, they have given so more complex means such as geographic information system. So what do you mean with geographic information system? So geographics, they will say no about weather forecasting. So and as a land survey. Okay, so this and all we can say as a geographic. So immediately they will say no weather forecasting, today the rain will come. So tomorrow, otherwise the day after tomorrow, there is a chance for raining. Then land survey, this is the survey for this area. Then survey of mountains. This and all we can say is geographic information system. Then scientific experiments. So experiment, that means research based things. Then engineering, design and manufacturing. That means before they are going to build a house or building, they will draw a plan, isn't it? So likewise, this kind of complex applications we can use to represent which model? Object model. Okay, so here, so all the things are stored in a form of file management system. Okay, what do you mean by file management system? All the things are stored in the form of files. Okay, so that we are calling as a file management system. So file in the sense, so here they are representing all the things by means of objects, attributes and behaviors. Okay, for example, they are going to take a survey, land survey. Okay, so in that land survey, they will represent all the things. So land survey, what are the things they will choose? So this area, this much length or this much square meter. Then next area, this much square centimeter. So next area, this much square centimeter. In between mountain is there. Okay, then they will take the area, first area name, area 1. For that one object. Then mountain, another one object. Okay, likewise, each and everything they will represent as a object, attributes and behaviors. Okay, then this model will give clear structure. By seeing that model itself, we can able to identify, so this is the working of this one. Or this is the geographic information means by seeing the, for example, see if you are seeing the map. So by seeing the map itself, identify where the Kanyakumari district is there, where Theni district is there, where Kerala is there. By seeing the map itself, we can identify. So now Google Map is there. By using Google Map, we can see which this place is where this place is there, isn't it? So likewise, this model will give the clear modular structure. Okay, in codings also we can say means by seeing the coding easy to understand and also easy to maintain, and we can able to modify the existing code also. What do you mean by existing code? So in a program, if for example consider one program we have 100 lines. So today you are completing only 20 lines. Tomorrow you are going to complete only 10 lines. So this 20 lines we are calling as an existing code. So today you are working as a 10 line, that we are calling as a present code. Okay, so modifying the existing code also very easy is in this object model. Okay, so what are things you have studied here in the object model? So object model, you have represented all the thing in the form of objects, attributes and methods. So it is mainly used to for complex applications. What are the things? Geographic informations, then scientific research, engineering design, etc. etc. Okay, so here all the details they are stored in the form of file management system. Okay, so real world things we can use to represent in objects, attributes and behaviors. Okay, by seeing this model we can get a clear modular structure. Understand? Yes. So one example they have given. Okay, one example they have given. So you are going to calculate the shape. So you are going to write a program for calculating shapes. Okay, listen. So here consider inside the shape you are writing for consider a program. You are going to write a program to find out the shape of different. What are the shapes you know? Circle, rectangle, triangle, ellipse, polygon, parallelogram. Lot of shapes will be there. So among the shape you are going to calculate 3 kinds of shapes. Okay. So you are going to in the shape. So you are going inside the shape you are going to write 2 kinds of functions. So what's the other name of function? Methods. What's the other name of function? Methods. Are you remembering? So last chapter we have studied thorough about this one. Methods are otherwise called functions, isn't it? So what are the functions you are going to write means get area of and get parameter of. Okay. So what's the meaning of get area of? Get area of means so you are going to calculate the area. So inside you are passing the parameters. Next get perimeter of. So inside you are passing perimeter. You are going to calculate perimeter. Understand? So here inside that you are giving after that 3 kinds of shapes. Listen, only one shape you are giving. For example, in the heading, like a heading you are giving shape. So inside you are giving 3 kinds of shapes. What are the things? Circle, rectangle and triangle. Okay. So here listen carefully. So this shape will have how many objects? Listen carefully. Just think how many objects? 3. What are they? Circle, rectangle and triangle. Okay. So how many attributes? Radius. So circle attribute is radius. Rectangle attribute is length and breadth. Triangle attribute is base and height. So how many functions? 2. What are they? Get area of and get parameter of. What's the meaning? So here circle also you are going to calculate area and perimeter. So rectangle also you are going to calculate length, area as well as perimeter. So triangle also you are going to calculate area as well as perimeter. But so each objects or each things the perimeter, each things the object or the attributes will get different. For example, circle has the attribute radius. The same radius will have whether the rectangle? No. So if you are taking the example of rectangle, their attributes is 2 different types. Rectangle have length and breadth. Triangle have base and height. Understood? So this kind, so entire program we can able to represent in this object model. Understand? Likewise, any complex things you can able to given in this object model. Understand? So for that only they are giving. So here how many objects are there? Shape, circle, rectangle and triangle we can say as a object. Then so what are the attributes? Circle has the attribute radius, then rectangle has length and breadth, triangle has base and height. Okay. So all the things are inherit from which one? Shapes. What do you mean inheritance? So shapes, that means circle also will come under shape. Then rectangle also come under shape. Triangle also come under shape. So each will have the properties of shapes. Each will have get the length, that means get area and perimeter. It will have inherent characteristics of shapes. Understand? Okay. So the data model is very important question. So again and again I am telling 5 data models are the hierarchical model, relational model, network model, then object model, ER model. Very, very important question I am telling. So please study, write and see with the diagrams. Diagrams also, all the models diagrams are very, very important. Understand? So next topic is types of DBMS uses. What do you mean by DBMS? Database Management System. So uses in the science. So for example, I am using the system. So who is the user? Myself. So different types of DBMS users. The database is used by different types of persons. Okay. So now we are going to study in detail about who are the users. Okay. So first user is database administrators. Okay. What do you mean by administrators? For example, our school management is there. So each school will have separate administrator. So what's the purpose of administrator? So administrator will looks after all the functions of the school. So likewise, this database also have administrators. Okay. So this person will manage. What's the purpose of this person means? So for example, our school have separate database. Consider. Okay. So our school have one separate database. So what do you mean by database? Database, you can store the files, all the details in the form of tables, isn't it? So our school have database, separate database for, it will contain the details of all the students. Contain details of all the students those who are studying in Bethlehem. Okay. So that database is managed by a separate person. We are called what? Database administrator. Okay. Who is a database administrator? A person who is take care of full database. We are all calling as a database administrator. Okay. So that database administrator needs to take care of what are things he needs to do? Security of the DBMS. What do you mean by security? So what are the things you are storing in the database that needs to be secure. That informations will not be shared to some other. For example, so all the student details will be stored in our database. Bethlehem student details will be stored in our Bethlehem database. Okay. The person who is managing the database, we are calling as an database administrator. Whether the administrator can share our student details to some other schools? No. That's not a secure. So for that only, other schools we will not get details about our school student. For that they are providing security. That's the security of DBMS. Next, managing license keys. What do you mean by license keys means? Each will have some licenses. That means this software will work till 3 months. So they will, for example, if you are installing a new software, each software will have separate license keys. Okay. What's the use of license keys means? They will give, while installing software itself, they will give the license key form. This software is valid for only 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. So 6 months means after 1 year, you need to get new license and you need to update the software. Likewise, this database administrators needs to manage the license keys. Next, managing user account and access, etc. What do you mean by user account? For example, lot of students are studying in our school. So each student's details are stored in database. So all the student details will be stored in separate things. That is called user account. Okay, that means 11th students are stored in 11th database. 12th students are stored in 12th database. Again, inside the 11th separate, 11A, 11B, 11C. Again, inside the 12th, 12A, 12B. That and all we can say user account. Okay, then whenever we need, that details need to access. Understand? So what's the first type of user? Database administrator. So what's the use of the database administrator? Who will manage the complete database? Isn't it? So what's the purpose of that administrator? He needs to take care of full database. Then he needs to manage the license key, user account and access. Understand? So second database user is application programmers or software developers. Okay. So who is the application programmer? Who is the application programmer mean? So in our mobile phones also take. So from Play Store we are installing lot of apps or applications, isn't it? So that applications is developed by whom? Okay, we are using the application. That applications is developed by whom? A particular group of persons are developing, or particular group of programmers are developing the particular applications or software. Okay, that persons we are calling as and which one? Application programmers or software developers. Understand who is application programmers? A particular group of person is design for developing and designing the part of the software. Here we are studying about database. So a particular group of persons involved for designing a DBMS we are calling as an application programmers. For that only one example I said, in your mobile phone lot of applications you have downloaded from Play Store. So that applications are developed by some programmers. That programmers we are calling as an application programmers. Understood? Next one is end user. Same example you take. So Play Store, if you are seeing, means lot of applications are there. So that applications are developed by particular programmer and they have launched that software. Then, so based on your needs, you are downloading the software from Play Store and you are installing in the mobile phone and you are using. So who are using that application? That person we are calling as an end user. Understand, the person who is designing we are calling as an application programmers or software developers. So after they are developing this software, they will launch. They will launch the software. So likewise, all the softwares are available in your Play Store in the mobile phones, isn't it? Then based on your needs. For example, so this week onwards, our school have provided, you asked you to download Google Meet, isn't it? So what's the use of Google Meet? You can interact using the software. So based on your needs, you are downloading from Play Store. The person who is developing called the application programmer, then after downloading, what you will do? You will use the software. That person, the person you are using that software, we are calling as an end user. Okay, so that one they are giving. So all kind of applications or even mobile phones or web. So all the applications or any kind of applications you can get from web or mobile. What do you mean by web? Internet. So you from internet you can download. That means from web store. Web store, for example, mobile we can download from Play Store. Likewise in net also you can download lot of softwares, isn't it? So from there you can able to download based on your needs. Okay. So what's the purpose of each software? Each software will have separate purposes. Likewise, so DBMS, what's the use of this DBMS? It will, based on your needs, you can able to store the data. Based on your needs, you can able to access or retrieve the data. You can able to add the details or update the details or delete the details, anything. Based on the end user. Who is end user? The person who is using the software at the last person, that is called end user. So the person who is designing after they are launching, the person who is using, we are calling as an end user. That person can able to store the data. Based on your needs, you can use the software. Understand? Yes. Next one is database designers. Okay. So who is the designer? For example, if you are going to build a house, so you are handling that work to a particular engineer. Okay. So what's the engineer will do? First, the engineer will draw a plan for the house. So this house looks like this. So after planning, he will give the plans to some contract. So the contractor will start the work based on the plan. So who is the database designer now? The person, the engineer who is making the plan for the house. Likewise, so if they are going to launch a new software, each software will have separate structures. Okay, so separate before they are going to launch, each software will have separate models or structures to represent this software will work like this. Okay, then what's the use of DBMS? The DBMS is mainly used to store the data. Okay, for that the designer will choose a separate structure for designing that one. That is called database designers. Understand? So how many types of DBMS users you have studied? 4 types, isn't it? So who are the 4 types of person? Database administrators, application programmers, end user, as well as database designers. Understand? Yes. Next one is types of relationships. Okay. So very important 5-mark question. Types of data model you have studied, that is very important. For this chapter, 4 important 5-mark questions are very important. 4 5-mark questions are there. Mostly you can expect any one of the questions from this chapter. Okay. So either they will ask types of object model or types of relationships. Okay. This question also very easy. Okay. So there are mainly 4 types of relationships. Okay, how many types of relationships are there totally? 4 types of relationships. Okay, so what are the 4 types of relationships means? First one is one-to-one relationship. What's the first type of relationship? One-to-one. Second one is one-to-many. Okay, third one is many-to-one. Fourth one is many-to-many. So from the name itself we can identify. Okay, first one is which one? One-to-one. Second one is one-to-many. Third one is many-to-one. Fourth one is many-to-many. Okay, understand? So listen carefully. So first one is one-to-one relationship. So what do you mean by one-to-one relationship means? So here consider the tables. So in database the data are stored in the form of tables, isn't it? So tables, each details we are said called as a entity or data. For example, a table containing student details, student name, student register number, student roll number. Yes, student name is one entity. Student register number is another one entity. Then student phone number is another one entity. So each thing we are calling as an entities. Isn't it? So one-to-one relationship means, so one entity in one table is related with another entity in another table. That means one data, that means table you have stored in the form of rows and columns, isn't it? That means, for example, student name, student roll number, etc. So one entity from one table, student details you are storing in one table. Okay, then another one table, you have a lot of your exam details you are storing in another one table. So your name is linked with your exam number. Understand? For example, your class student's name is stored in one table called 12A. Okay, then your class register number is stored in another one table called register number. Okay, so 2 tables are there. How many tables are there now? 2 tables. So tables, each details are stored in rows and columns. So one row of a first table is linked with another one row of a first table, next table. For example, for roll number 1, the first person name is linked with whether the register number is different. Roll number 1 means each person will have unique register number. Whether the same person will have 2 register number? No. So first roll number is mapped with first person in the first table, one table. That means your class details 12A table, your name, first name. Is next table register number. The first name is linked with the first register number. Second name is linked with the second register number. Whether the same name is linked with the 2 or 3 register number? No. Understand now what do you mean by 1-to-n? That means one entity is related with only one entity from other table. That we are calling as a one-to-one relationship. Understand now? So see this example. So they are giving student have only one exam number. That means only one register number. Consider this table will have student names. Here they are giving 3 names. So each student will have separate register number. Whether the same student will have 2 or 3 register number? No. It's not possible. So only one entity, this name entity from this student table is related with the exam number, exam register number of this table exam. Understand? So the arrows will go to only one entity. Understand? This is called one-to-one relationship. Understand? Next one is one-to-many relationship. Okay. So one-to-many means name itself having one-to-many. That means one entity from one table is linked with many entities from next table. Understand? One entity from one table is linked with many entities from next table. Consider 2 tables are there, table A and table B. Okay, so that is one row. That means first row A in first table A is linked with many, only one row in table A is linked with many row is table B. One example they have given. For consider one department. So lot of departments will be maths department, computer science, English, Tamil, everything. So each department will have many staff members. Okay. So see this example, then only you will get understand. So listen. So what's the table name here? Department. Department is a separate table. Staff name. So this is a staff name is a separate table. Okay. So computer here, how many departments they have given? 3. Computer, Tamil and Maths. Okay. So whether the department will get changed? No. So here what's one too many? That means computer department have 2 staffs. That means from one entity, only one entity computer. Here how many staffs there? 2 staffs are there. Okay. Next. Then Tamil department, from Tamil department 2 staffs are there. Then from Maths department 2 staff. Here only each entity is related to many entities in next table. That is called one too many. From here only one, computer 1. Whether the computer staff will take Tamil? No. Okay, whether the Tamil staff will take computer? No. But here the computer staff can take Maths. That's a possibility. Understand? So from here only from one entity is related to many entities to the next table. That is one to many. Understand? So next thing is many to one. Just opposite of one to many. Many to one. Okay. So here many entities of first table is related to only one entities of the next table. Just opposite. Okay. Just opposite of one to many. What do you mean by many to one? Many entities of the first table is related with only one entities of the next table. Understand? So for example, they have given any number of staffs are working in one department. Okay. So see this example, then only you will get understand. So listen carefully, just opposite. So listen here, 3 staffs names are given. The 3 staffs are working in under computer department. Okay. So the computer staffs cannot able to work with other departments. So listen, many entities of the staff table is related with only one entities of the next table. Understand? This is called many to one relationship. Understand? So next one is many to many relationship. So name itself having many to many. So multiple records from first table is related with multiple record from next table. Understand? Many entities from the first table is related with many entities to the next table. Understand? Example they have given customers and products. That means any number of one product is there. For example, one product pen is there, pen. So any number of persons can buy any number of pens. Whether a shop will have only one pen? No. Number of pens will be there. So number of customers, 10 customers can buy 10 pens. Even 10 customers can buy 100 pens. So likewise, many to many customers and product. Understand? Many customers can buy many things. Likewise, students and courses. Lot of courses will be there. Any student can choose any number of courses. Understand? And books and a student. For example, library, whether only one book is there? No. Lot of books are there. Based on your needs, any kind of book you can choose. That only they are giving. See here, 3 kinds of books they have given. C++, SQL, Python. So the C++ book can choose by 2 or 3 persons. The same book can choose by another 3 persons. Okay. So likewise, any number of books you can choose from any number of students. That is called many to many relationship. Understand? Understand? This is very, 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 very important question. So after completion of this session, please study and write this question. Okay, understand? So next we are going to study about comparison of DBMS and RDBMS. Okay. So you are very, very, very important 5-mark question this also. So while I am teaching class itself, I am saying this and all important 5-mark questions. So please study. Okay. So comparison of DBMS and RDBMS. Okay. What do you mean by DBMS? First thing, expansion. Okay. If they ask for 3-mark question means you should write 5 points. Any 5 points you can write. 2-mark question means 3 points you should write. Understand? Yes. So comparison of DBMS. First one is expansion. What's expansion? DBMS means database management system. Okay. Next RDBMS means relational database management system. Okay. Yes, that's the first point. Then data storage. Okay. So we have studied about lot of data models to store the data, isn't it? So here in DBMS they are using navigational model. Okay, so which model they are using for storing the data? Navigational model. So in this model you are going to store the data in the form of records. Okay, so using this model you have stored the data in the form of records. Okay, next one is in the relational model. Already you have studied in relational model, store the details in the form of tables. So in tables they will store the details using in rows and columns. Isn't it? What's the second point? Data storage. In DBMS, which model they use to store data? DBMS navigational model. In this model, data is stored in form of records. But in relational model, data is stored in the form of rows and columns. Understand? Yes. Next one is redundancy. What do you mean by redundancy? Redundancy means nothing but repetition. The same data is repeating again and again. But in DBMS, it's a possibility of doing the redundancy. That means it is a possible redundancy features will sometimes it is possible in DBMS. Same details will be stored in 2 or 3 times. So only they have given X bit. It is a possible. In DBMS it is possible, but in relational database management system it is not possible. Okay. Why it is not possible? Next point we are going to study. Okay. So third point is data redundancy. It is possible? Here it is not possible. Okay. Next, normalization. What do you mean by normalization? So to avoid redundancy in database, we are using a feature called normalization. Very, very important question. Okay, normalization. Okay. So to avoid redundancy in the database, we are using a technique called normalization. But in DBMS, the normalization is not performed. But in RDBMS, we are using this normalization. What purpose we are using normalization? To reduce the redundancy. Understand? Yes. Next one is data access. What do you mean by access? So taking the data from the database. So compared to RDBMS, so in DBMS, the time consumption is very high. Okay, in DBMS, the time consumption is more, but in RDBMS, the time consumption is very low as compared to DBMS. But fastly you can access the data. What do you mean by access? For example, you have Wi-Fi connections. So if you have full tower means fastly you can access the net. So tower is very low means the access time is very poor, isn't it? That's the same thing only. So here in DBMS it will consume more time, but in RDBMS it is very fastly you can able to access. Okay. Next, keys and indexes. Okay. So in DBMS this feature we are not using keys and indexes. Okay. But in RDBMS you are using. So in relational model you have studied. Are you remembering? So in a tables either some entities you are denoting as a keys. Okay. Then you can able to identify the particular things using a keys as a indices. In relational model you have studied. Okay. So in RDBMS you are using keys in the RDBMS. Okay. Next one is transaction management. What do you mean by transaction? Transferring of details. The transaction of a money. What is the meaning? You are transferring money from one account to next account. Okay. Likewise, here what do you mean by transaction? Transferring of details or data. Okay. So in DBMS, so it is not efficiently you can able to transfer the data. Okay. Sometimes error will occur or it is not secure to transfer the data in case of DBMS. But it is very secure in RDBMS. Understand? Next one is examples. Okay, so what are the example means? DBMS example is DBS, Fox Pro, DBase Fox Pro, then RDBMS, SQL Server, Oracle, MariaDB, SQLite. Lot of examples are there. Okay, so what are the characteristics? So what is the comparison you have studied? Expansion, data storage, redundancy, normalization, data access, keys and indexes, transaction management, distributed databases, then so distributed databases. What do you mean by distributed databases? The same database details is distributed to many things. Okay, so in DBMS it is not support, but RDBMS it will support. Okay, so this is very, very important. One more question. So this normalization is proposed by a person called Dr. Edgar F. Code. Very, very, very important. One more question. Okay. So this what's the use of normalization? To avoid redundancy. What do you mean by redundancy? Same data can be repeated again and again. So to avoid the redundancy, they are introducing a new concept called normalization. Okay. So the rules are following to using this normalization is called EF code rules. Okay, what do you mean by EF code rules? Important 2-mark question. What do you mean by EF code rules? The rules while you are following to using this normalization is called EF code rules. Okay, normalization is introduced by a person called whom? Edgar F. Code. Understand? So today what are the things you have studied? Types of relationship, important very very important 5-mark question, comparison of DBMS and RDBMS, then 2-mark question EF code. All the 3 questions are very very important. So after completion of this session, please study and write and see. Okay, very very important questions again and again telling. Okay students, time over. So tomorrow's class we can continue the next thing. Okay, so thank you students.